As you guys know, I have been raving about the upcoming movie Twisters, which we are going to see on Thursday, and that got even more intense when the director of the movie, his name is Lee Isaac Chung, came out and did an interview with the Hollywood Reporter where he says there will be absolutely no climate propaganda in the film. And I think the number one critique that all of us had when this film was announced, on top of the fact there is no Bill Paxton, that there's a lot of reasons to say like maybe you shouldn't be making like random sequels, prequels, and continuations of old franchises, that this is a movie that didn't need one, but also it's the year 2024 and there's no way they will not try to shoehorn some type of propaganda in the film. Well, this director says that is not what is happening.
Yeah, the Hollywood Reporter did an interview with the director where they made sure to mention the science. The Bulletin of American Meteorological Society projected a 6.6% nationwide increase in the frequency of supercell thunderstorms by the end of the century because of global warming. And suddenly your summer tornado popcorn movie has a bit of, but seriously though, this could really happen, semi-scientific heft.
This was their attempt at like fanficking this line into the movie.
Yes, but to hear director Lee Isaac Chung tell it, even such a throwaway reference would be like beating Red State moviegoers over the head with a DVD copy of An Inconvenient Truth.
Even acknowledging that there are Red State movie viewers is like a fantastic step forward.
Chung said, I just wanted to make sure that with the movie, we don't ever feel like it's putting forward any message. I just don't feel like films are meant to be message oriented. He said, I think that what we're doing is showing the reality of what's happening on the ground. We don't shy away from saying that things are changing. I wanted to make sure that we're never creating a feeling that we're preaching a message, because that's certainly not what I think cinema should be about. I think it should be a reflection of the world.
I think I was just transported to another dimension of awesomeness.
He specifically said that for you.
He did.
Actually.
Like literally, he was looking at a picture of me.
It was just for
when
you.
he said that
And
out loud.
I think they probably asked him about this because that PETA protester went to the Twisters premiere and harassed them about global warming. And Glenn Powell was just like side-eyeing
it was
that
because
shit.
there's a rodeo scene in the movie, and they had an actual bull.
Okay, so it wasn't about the climate. It was
No.
about mistreatment of
Yes.
the animals.
But they had their own like people on set to make sure the animals were treated well. I'm just glad they didn't do a
Intimacy
CGI bull.
coordinators for animals.
Look, here's the thing. In the year 2024, not everyone is so terminally online, but most people are aware of the way the media talks, the news talks. Buzzwords are clocked right away in a way that they weren't 20 years ago. Right? Language changes. I was watching an old episode of Castle where they're dealing with this bad guy who keeps calling his boss affirmative action. And it's just the dude's a piece of crap. So he keeps using this word nowadays. Like if you were to use that now, it would sound differently. Just like if you were to say DEI hire or something like that, right? Language has become so critical to how we communicate online that when it shows up in the real world, it just feels like somebody's reading off of a CNN headline, or a Fox News headline, or an MSNBC headline, and you're aware that these people are all kind of annoying, elitists.
Do you think he expected backlash for this?
No. Oh, no, like you mean
That
what
he
do you
was
mean, what kind
expecting
of
to be asked
yes,
about
yes,
climate
absolutely.
change in
Yeah,
all of these interviews?
Just acknowledging that there's red states that go to movies means that they're actually paying attention to focus groups and not just thinking that all movies are about New York and California. What's funny is like, it's not just the buzzwords in this case. A lot of it is like show, don't tell. So I was thinking about it. Tornadoes are very, very tangible and real and can be seen. That's scary. The idea of seeing a tornado throw a cow around, throwing two cows around, is something you can visually show them and the audience can connect with. The idea of climate change is not something that you can show.
Sure.
It can be explained, but the only way you can explain it is with annoying jargon that's just going to make everyone think that they're being lectured by someone on a CNN panel.
Maybe they should make it so that Glenn Powell's character has it like explained to him and he's like, I don't care. I just think that tornadoes are cool.
Tornadoes are cool. Like it.
So then they could at least make mention of the climate change issue and then, still allow you to sympathize with the character.
again, and again, the times we live in change it. Like, Day After Tomorrow is like an amazingly awesome movie.
Yes.
It literally is about climate change. It was 2004. You can't make it today without it being annoying. You cannot.
Yeah.
Like, it's so funny. He's like, he gets out of a climate change panel and climate change just suddenly makes summer winter.
Oh, wait, you mean a day after? I thought you said 2012.
No, The Day After Tomorrow.
Okay. I actually didn't care for it because of the climate change. It was just like, God, man, I just want to see it.
2004 was a different time than now, meaning that people today would be more sensitive to that than they were in.
I mean, if even Aquaman 2 can shoehorn in the climate change issue, not even just as a throwaway line, but as a key point in the plot, then obviously Twisters could have done the same thing. But
choosing not to shows unbelievable restraint. This movie was written, the screenplay was done by Joseph.
I'm hearing Tucker Carlson.
Tucker Carlson
somewhere. Hello?
Sorry.
Tucker, are you there?
Okay, so it shows unbelievable restraint. And the thing is, this movie the screenplay was written by Joseph Kosinski, who is the director of Top Gun Maverick. Glenn Powell was in Top Gun Maverick. Tom Cruise was at the premiere for this film, helping Glenn Powell hold up his popcorn bucket just right so people could see the label for it. Tom Cruise, you can criticize his Scientology all you want. You can say whatever you want about him. He seems to be focused on the idea of making summer blockbusters that are accessible to everyone, that don't preach a particular message. I guess you could say the AI bad in the last in Dead Reckoning was there, but even that was couched in a bunch of action scenes, and it was a lot of fun. He understands the point of a summer blockbuster. You don't spend hundreds of millions of dollars to shoehorn in anything that can limit the box office return on something like this. So maybe what it is they've realized, or at least some people in this industry have realized, that you can look. They make like 10 gazillion things a year. There's 9,000 streaming services. Each one of those 9,000 streaming services makes 9,000 shows that nobody watches. You can shoehorn your garbage message into a lot of different things. Maybe don't do it on the stuff that costs hundreds upon hundreds of millions of dollars.
Is that the case for Twisters? It's a super
I don't know what
high budget.
It's probably at least $100 million.
Yeah, it's up there. But
I can find out.
It's funny you mentioned Tom Cruise because people are talking about Glenn Powell's career trajectory right now. People believe that Glenn Powell is on the path to becoming the next generation's Tom Cruise.
I'm there.
And he seems to have a similar grasp on reaching for mass appeal.
He moved back to Texas. He got out of California as soon as he could. He moved back to Texas. He has a great everyman quality about him in the same way that Tom Cruise kind of did, right?
Yeah.
Like, what is the thing that Tom Cruise would get dunked on for a lot? He's short. That somehow makes him a little bit more relatable because he's a movie star, but there's something that you can kind of give him crap for in a good-natured way.
Yeah,
right?
and also they mentioned that the director himself is from Arkansas on the border of Oklahoma, so he definitely understands
I'm loving this more.
The people who are in this movie. And Glenn Powell recently said that Hollywood has underserved large parts of America. You sort of have New York and Los Angeles making the decisions about what gets made, but there's a whole lot more audience out there that you need to think about.
Yeah, like I was thinking about it is like he says like they make movies for New York and California. Look, I can understand why. On its face, like New York and California are huge places that have large, diverse populations, not diverse just in the physical sense, but a lot of different stories can be told there. But there's a lot of those stories elsewhere too. It just takes better, more creative writers. I was like, they need like an electoral college in Hollywood to start giving those those middle America states more of a vote.
And they didn't just think about geographical diversity here. They also thought about going for mass appeal in terms of getting women to
There's a
watch
love story,
this movie.
just like in the original.
There's a love story, just like the original. And I actually saw a woman commenting about Glenn Powell in Twisters. She thought, she said, I'm married with kids and I love my husband, but if somehow I had Glenn Powell looking at me like that, I'd either be sucked up by a tornado or divorced, just saying.
So, like right here, this is something you don't get to see a lot of these days.
Yeah.
This type of...
Or the pictures that came out from Glenn Powell's movie with Sydney Sweeney as well.
Yes. Yep.
Which I didn't end up watching, but clearly it's appealing to women in some sense.
And I do in a way, like, so I saw Christian Toto, he had a tweet that said like, I'm worried that Glenn Powell's going to have like an Alan Richson style turn where he goes on some weird anti-Trump
He's definitely more famous than Alan Ritchson at this point, but I would hate to see him go down that road.
It's really, really funny. Like, I've been kind of waiting, like, who is going to be that next actor? Like, you've still got your Jake Gyllenhaals and you've got your Ryan Goslings, but there has to be somebody younger. I think, are they in their 40s now? They have to be in their 40s now, right?
Yeah.
Glenn Powell is, I think he's in his early 30s.
It's the late 30s,
His mid 30s. He was in The Dark Knight Rises, which came out in 2012. So
he's been working a long time.
Yeah.
And
So-
he just waited until he got to that critical point in his success where he could get out of Hollywood, because he said it's like the Matrix and he doesn't want to be there. He was only there because he had to be.
So the thing is, like, him and Sydney Sweeney represent this good shift that could be coming in Hollywood, which is that they're focused on making money for their movies. They want their films to do well. How do you make a film do well? You present it with mass appeal. You don't bog it down in some type of unique, very, very niche message that only speaks to a small sector of the audience, which most of Hollywood is so hell-bent on doing. I always say all the time, I don't need actors to pretend to love superhero characters. I need them to do a good job playing superhero characters and not pretend to be something they aren't. Glenn Powell and Sydney Sweeney aren't pretending to be activists. They're not pretending to even be anything other than people that want to make movies that speak to a large sector of the audience. If it's purely for financial reasons, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and they both are focused on making money, but they also seem to both actually enjoy the craft of what they do, which sounds pretentious, but it's important because they're not just using acting as their way to get a platform to scream at people.
Well, even she said that she was talking with the marketing teams at Sony. That means she cares about who it's marketed to.
She was like, basically came right out and said she did Madam Web to meet people at Sony so that she could make deals with them.
And look, we're not in California and we're not in New York. You need to make movies about other places. And
without, by the way, you make movies that focus on people in the South or people in Middle America without demonizing them, which they seem like utterly incapable of doing.
One of the, like, I request everyone go back and rewatch the show Justified, which does a fantastic job of even showing criminals in a light that doesn't seem to speak down on,
you have to humanize them.
on Harlan in the same way that it would be done today, right? Like, for as bad as some of the people are in that show, they don't treat the good guys. Raylan Givens isn't treated like a country bumpkin. Neither are any of the people that work at the office that, you know, at the marshal's office that he works in. There is the ability to do this. It can be done. You just need to stop hiring people that go to Ivy League universities and tell them to write someplace that they don't even care to go and do research on to find out. I'm not saying they have to be from there. The director and the writer don't have to be from Arkansas to write about Arkansas. They have to be willing, in good faith, to look at these places and understand that they are not a caricature. And that takes a lot of humility that most of Hollywood isn't willing to do.
I think it's because people in Hollywood haven't forgiven their parents yet.
No, that's a huge. How common
projecting
is
it?
How common is the story of like the person who did grow up in a place like that, and then they move to California and they harbor a lot of resentment for those places. There's a lot of people that you're from California, right? So,
I am from California.
So probably a lot of people there who are who don't like where they're from.
No, they don't. And kind of like you said, there's a lot of parental resentment.
They didn't drink enough water that day.
They didn't drink enough water.
They're projecting it into their work.
Even if, look, I'm going to cope so hard if this movie's bad, I'm just going to tell you guys it's good anyway. So, like...
You said, like, Glenn Powell's character could be trans for all I care, and I'm still going to
my joke. No, my joke was like, I was like, so they're like, oh, there's no message in the movie, and then all of a sudden it's just the rest of it. It's just the whole movie. Everyone's gay.
Yeah.
And like that'd be at this point, it's hilarious. They did like the bait
the
and
ultimate
switch.
hoodwink.
Yeah, it's like the Uno reverse card. They got me. So we are going to see this movie on Thursday,
tomorrow,
and we are very excited. So. Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.